So a lot of buildings collapse. A lot of houses, usually, sometimes during the building constructions, the houses the house will cave in, and in some cases there are casualties and all of that. But from investigations that I personally have been doing with some people or with some engineers, it turns out that most of these collapses are human errors and are things that could have been avoided if some simple steps were taken. So that's why I have our honorable engineer in the house. And this is Engineer Desmond, for those of you who don't know. He's a very experienced engineer. He builds houses, he constructs structures and all, right? So I just wanted to sit down with him and discuss this topic. And of course, during the course of the discussion, we will also tell you what you should look out for, questions that you should ask an engineer that wants to build a house for you. You know, one of the things that could also avoid a catastrophe as a house collapsing is you actually being able to know the right questions to ask your engineer, right? So we are going to cover all of that in this episode. So Engineer Desmond, nice to meet you again, sir, or nice to have you here again.
Thank you.
So we'll just go straight to the point. From your experience, I had a discussion with you over this matter before we started recording, and you mentioned that there are a lot of reasons why houses collapse or why structures cave in, you know. So we just want you to enlighten us more on this issue.
All right, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of reasons why buildings collapse. And one of the reasons are knowing the right thing to do. In every industry, there are informations that one needs to get.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that you need to get acquainted with before you go into them. And anything you go into them without knowledge, surely you're not going to come out in success.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get the right knowledge. So it is expedience that anything you want to do, such as building, and in order to avoid those human error, you go into it before you go into them. You have to get the right knowledge. And once you have gotten that knowledge, trust me, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You're good to go. So you just have to get the right knowledge. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so what are these things that we need to get, the knowledge and all of that we need to get, and also you need to enlighten us.
So we have some points that we have actually listed, of which there are so many of them. But you know, this point are going to a key point. Exactly. There are so many points, but we have go through the right process, seek to get the right knowledge or details, and then there are things we need to avoid against failing, and of course, using inferior materials.
Okay, can you please, we need a breakdown of
Okay, so if you want to start by saying go through the right process. For example, you want to build a house. Fine, there are processes you need to take. Now, what kind of house do you want to build? And first of all, the land purchase has to be what it is in your mind. And then when it comes to land purchasing, a lot of people decide to build in their ancestral land, like a land that was given to you by your parent or inherited land.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's not only when you buy a land you can build. Some people build houses in an inherited land, maybe land in your village, someone gave to you, whatever, out of your parents, or whatever. You answered it, or the one you buy. So that's the first thing you do. And then when you have gotten a land, you seek to get an engineer. And then let your engineer see the land that you want to build on.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about an inherited land. Okay, maybe in some remote villages, because there are villages that naturally you don't need to go through some processes of approval, going through that problems and everything. Maybe in some villages that are interior places. Okay, when you get this land, what kind of land have you gotten?
Okay.
Is it swampy? Is it the solid land? Is it the dry land? Is it the sandfield land? For example, let's start by swampy. Okay, if you want to build on a swampy land, what kind of building do you have in mind? That has to come into place. That's why you need a good consultation. So, but you should have something in mind. That's why I'm talking about going through the right process. When you have something in mind, which is the kind of building you want to build, you know, and then you seek an engineer. Engineer will not advise you based on the land you have. If it's a swampy land and you want to put up a story building, the first thing is to do a soil test.
Okay.
Yes, that govern the kind of building you want to build, because the land has its own content. The land has as much as it can carry. So the soil test will give you an edge over what you want to do. And going through the soil test will now give birth to the kind of drawing, the structural design that has to be done.
Okay, so sorry for cutting you there. Let me ask you something in between there. Do you do the drawing first before the soil test, or the soil test before the drawing?
You have to do the soil test before the drawing, and that depends on the kind of land.
Okay.
I just talked about being a swampy. If it's a swampy land, this land that is swampy, so you have to, first of all, if it's a story building you want to build, you have to do a soil test. Okay. So when you do a soil test, and then that soil test will give birth to the drawing, because that thing will give birth to the structure, the kind of the structural details, you know, the distribution, the stability of the soil, how the soil is going to be prepared, what to do, what is expected, and all that, the kind of materials, the kind of reinforcement that you need. The reinforcement has to do with the rod, and then the cement mixture, the aggregates, and all that. So that gives birth to it. So once you have conquered that, maybe in a swampy area, then what about you want to build in a dry land, whereby the dry land doesn't have this swampy, and you want to do. It also have its own steps. So the first thing is to seek knowledge. What is the knowledge? When you have gotten the land, you walk up to an engineer. But if you don't have a land at all, and everybody lives in a house.
Yeah.
Yes. When it comes to house, is like food you eat, clothings, you know, though it's on a bigger part of it. If you have a little money, you can buy clothes. But house, everybody, even if you don't have your own house, you are living in someone's house that you're paying rent. But at some point, someone will just get up and say, okay, I want to have my own house, which, you know, by God's provision, everybody should have a house, either in your village or in the city where you live, or anywhere as God make provision for you. So you seek knowledge, and when you seek knowledge, I think you overcome the problem. And then number two is...
Hold on, before you go to the second point.
Okay.
Do you what about, we are talking about soil test now.
Okay.
What about if you are building a bungalow in a swampy place, or whatever, whatever kind of place? Will you still need to do a soil test for a bungalow?
If you are building a bungalow in a swampy area, there are some kind of bungalow that has even a penthouse. It is called a bungalow. That's a penthouse. Like one of our YouTube subscriber in this channel contacted us, and she wanted us. We were actually working for her, and then at some point, when we wanted to start the project, she called. We have discussed, mobilization were made for a bungalow to be built, you know, for her. But a night before we go into the project, you know, we had a meeting, and now she said, "Oh, I would love to do a penthouse." She sent me a video of exactly what is in her mind. And I said, okay, because of your expectation, or because of what you think we do, I'm going to use, because we are supposed to start, it was barely 24 hours, less than 24 hours before we go into the project. So I said, okay, I'm not going to sleep this night. I'm going to use this night and walk through possibly what might be an extra cost based on your request. And when I went into that cost, and you know, before the next morning, I said, okay, I'm going to do this so that a few hours before we start, you should be able to inform your decisions on the things we should do. Because going to do a penthouse, the formation and the foundation will not be the same as what it was initially planned to be. So when I go into that, I said, oh, we are going to be spending extra 5 to 6 million naira in this. And she said, okay, no problem. I think I'm not ready for now. Maybe when we are doing the next one, we go into it and all that. So if you are doing, when we talk about the bungalow, there are some bungalow that is like, that has those, you know, it's very, very tactical. So you still need to do a soil test if the land is swampy. But if the land is on a rocky area, like the eastern part of Nigeria and those places that don't have swampy or it's not a refill land, it's unfilled land, there's no problem much about the soil test situation. Okay. All you do is just analysis and then you go on with your building.
So we'll go to the next
one. So the next one here is do not manage materials. And this one, I think the number one also have an age over this, but we just have to dissect it a little. Now, some people feel that they know too much, okay? And when it comes to building, knowing too much, know it and implement it into the building, okay? The engineer know too much, the client also know too much, and this thing does not really help when it comes to building. If you know too much, know it and apply the principle, the process of knowing too much into the building. If you know too much, it's not a bad thing. We have worked for an engineer, which you know. We have worked for those who are also an engineer. If you're an engineer and maybe you are residing in Lagos, and then your village is somewhere in Ibadan, or your state part of Nigeria, for example, or your village is in Owerri, and then you are an engineer, you are living in Lagos, and you are an engineer practicing in Lagos. When I mean an engineer, we have the chemical engineer, mechanical engineer, but maybe you are a building engineer or you're a civil engineer, you can as well build your house. You're an architect. You can design for yourself, but because your job is that you are somewhere in a different state and you want to do a project for yourself in a different state, you can also hire an engineer. So knowing too much is for you to imply your knowledge, not to less the knowledge of what you think you know. For example, every building has a principle. There is a place for 15 rods, there's a place for 5 rods, and the rods also have, the reinforcement also have their specification. We have the 12 mm rod, we have the 25 mm, we have the 16 mm. They have their likes and their design, and they are meant for different places. So if you feel you know too much, imply that knowledge into what you know and make it come to a success. Because a lot of people feel I know too much, at the end of the day, it becomes a problem. So you don't manage materials, you use the right aggregate, apply the right principles when it comes to building, so avoid collapse. If you need to do soil test, do soil test. If there's a place you need to do 4 bars of rod, do them, do it rightly. So this one is applicable to either you know it or you don't know it. Seek knowledge and get to do the right thing. And then, of course, you have to get a professional for you to get the right thing.
Of course.
You don't expect to, we employ an artisan to work with us, but we use our knowledge to work with them. Some people feel that, I don't need an engineer. I can just call a carpenter, let him do what, But we as an engineer, we use the artisans, that same artisan. But if you go to them, you will not, because you may not have the time to work with them. Yeah. And some people feel engineers are too expensive. Engineers are creative. They are very, very creative. And they also can do that thing you expect and do it the right way. Okay. And
then, in other words, it will be advisable for you to hire a professional engineer.
Exactly.
And don't interfere with his job.
Yes.
You can only ask questions.
And then if those things done, like I said, knowing too much, because he has to, like if you're an engineer, if you know it, either you're an engineer or not, if you know it and you feel you know, if the person doesn't do the right thing and you know very well that this person is not doing the right thing, that's when you come in.
Okay.
And of course, and do the right thing yourself.
Yes, because personally I've worked with a client before that hired me to do something, and then the client was now trying to tell me, oh, this is this, do like this. Okay, don't do like this, do like that. No, this is not how this is done. And also I have to ask the client that if you knew how to do this thing, I don't think you would have needed me here. So allow me to work. You understand, the way I want it. So I think that's a valid point.
Okay, so I will go to the next one here. Seek to know the right details. Okay. We are talking about building collapse and what to avoid. Okay, fine. Now there are some projects that we have also gone into, because most of the discussion here has to be personal.
Yes, of course.
On what we have actually experienced. Okay. We have not experienced any collapse in our job. Okay. So, but now, being that God has helped us to avoid the things we need to avoid. Okay, now, seek to know the right details. What are the details? I have gone into a project whereby they've started from the foundation. And another person entirely that we have not known before, we've not met, we don't know before. I'm going to mention just 1 or 2, or if possible 3, as we discussed, and it's going to help our listener and our YouTube subscribers. Okay, now I've gone to 1 or 2 projects. Now let me talk about the one. I'm going to talk about 3 briefly. Now, one of it is I went into the project. The former engineer, which I have not met, I don't know how it looks like. I don't know his color of skin. But let me tell you here that there are a lot of reasons why people lay off the other persons. Dishonesty, trust issue, and then incompetency and falling apart. Anything can happen that you cannot continue with a particular person. So you have the right foresoever. You have the right foresoever to move on and do whatever you want to do. If you hired us and we feel that we are not meeting up your demand and there's an MOU on our part and we are not doing that thing you expected from us, you have the right to move on. That is how business is. You are not forced to buy a particular goods at a particular place. Yes. Do your thing. That's what life entails. And especially when it comes to building, and you need to avoid a collapse. Okay? Because in collapse, if a building collapse, government will come in and take over the land from you, first of all, depending on the city, in the most developed city. And it's also a good thing, a good name, and resources has been gone in and everything. Okay, so seek to know the right information to avoid the building collapse of details. Now, we've gone to a project, and the project has been done from foundation to lintel level before they do the first decking. So when I got into the project, I asked questions. I said, okay, what happened? First of all, it was in a village area. Now, first of all, what happened to the former engineer? I was briefed by my clients that, because of some issue, dishonesty, sometimes he's here, he said he's here, he's not there, delay and everything. I said, okay. This job should have been completed by now, but because of issues and everything. So I said, okay, no problem. We come in. I said, please, I would love to have the structural details of this drawing. They said, just go ahead now. We can't find out where it is. I said, no. I have to have the structural details of the drawing because we are talking about a story building here. And this building consists of about 52 pillars. Okay, fine. So now, you don't jump into a project that you don't have history about. It is easier and far better for you to start a project from the foundation. You start by excavation, do your thing, and raise your house and walk away with it. It's fair that way. For you to just go into a project, especially that one that you have to put a deck on top. You have to now do a deck over it. That's a superstructure over it. So I insist, and that structural details were nowhere to be found soon. I insist that it must come out. I said, well, did this drawing have a design? Now, in that case, though, at the end of the day, we were provided with the structural details. But if they were not there, we need to have a design. Like I said, this building is in a village and is in a inherited land that no government agency will come somewhere remote. They will not come and start asking for approval process and everything. But just because we need safety, and whoever that comes to continue carries the burden. The credit is yours, and the failure is also yours. So you have to avoid this. So I think they dig to their archive and they saw the structural details, and I have to have the structural details. I went into the history and I checked that the building initially had 52 pillars, and that 52 pillars were all implemented. I saw the cantilevers, I saw the design, and then I took over from there. Then there's another one in an Eyebrow area in Port Harcourt, in a very good location in Port Harcourt, and these are places that the Building Control Agency, they are on it. They are, you have to do the right thing in Port Harcourt. So I went into it, and according to this job, this person met us on our YouTube channel. And this job, I was the second engineer. And I ended up leaving that job for the third engineer to come in.
Why did you leave? Okay,
fine. Now, this job, the first engineer did the foundation, did a super job. The person did a super and an amazing job. There was no issue. But what was the problem? The client, he's not in the country. He's using a third party, his brother also to say. So whenever there's a discussion, the brother stand in to reduce prices.
Okay.
So the price given is not favorable to the job. You will not be able to have that job done on a good note. So I was a second engineer and I went in, did my own, did according to the drawing that was given to me. I investigated and I saw it, did my own. And then when it gets, because we're doing a milestone, okay? When I get to the other stage I'm supposed to be doing, we have to go into billing. And when I send the bill, the argument price, at the end of the day, I couldn't, before I know, someone else came and continued the job. So somehow, before that job completed, I think we were up to 3 engineers. But let me tell you something. Now, in that kind of situation, if this building has a crack or a collapse situation tomorrow, you don't have anybody to hold.
Okay.
I can deny. This one can deny. This one can deny. So you need to stick to an engineer to do your job for you.
Okay.
Like I said, it's only if this engineer doesn't do the right thing. And if you are confused, maybe you don't have anything about building line, or you don't know anything about building, and then you feel that the person doing your job is not doing the right thing, you are free to bring in an external person, exactly, to do a check. Sometimes just seek to bring a external person. You can arrange it when the person is not on site. Like, you know how we do our work. We make it open. We are very transparent. Our jobs are open. We share pictures when we are working. We have the WhatsApp group shared. Anything we do, we share on the group. We buy rod, we buy material, we buy cement. Everything we do, we share on the group. We have the outline of things we do at every given time, and everything. Even the blocks we mold, we even allow you to know the numbers of blocks we produce in the bag of cement. And so we make it transparent. So you are also free to bring anybody you think, whoever you feel that can come in and check our job.
Okay.
So if you feel that you are not comfortable with someone that you're working for currently, that's working for you currently rather, you are free to bring an external person to check. That will save you some problems of having the first engineer, the second engineer, and the third engineer. Because this one, knowing that I am coming to do I'm coming to continue, can just do a shabby job. And then if you don't know what you are doing, you just continue with problems, and when the buildings collapse tomorrow, you start gathering 3 engineers. By the time this one is done, you should be able to stick to someone that if anything happens, you know. And if I'm taking responsibility of what, in case anything happens, I will be careful, because I know I'll go in for it.
All right, so engineer, thank you very much for the enlightenment and all the tips and that we should look out for. So we definitely hope that you guys will actually go through this video again. If there's something you did not get, you can actually rewind the video, pause, play again, and all. If there's something if there are questions you have and you feel that it was not covered in this episode, you can just leave them down in the comments, and we can reply you, and we can even, if you want to give us a call and ask questions and prepare for your project, no problem. Numbers are down there in the description of this video. All right. So until the next time, we are saying thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you again.